Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining. Hi, Michael. How is it going?
Hi, Alex. Good, good. Had a good weekend. Weather was great. We were a lot outside, and so that was good. This morning I had to rush to school to bring my girl and her iPad that she forgot. So I just ran out, or cycled to school, and came back really quickly so that I'm back in time for the stream. So that was good. Yeah. Otherwise, last week I had a conference, a local one here with a lot of people, and that was a lot of fun. But I also had to talk with a new topic, so I had to spend quite some time preparing and so on.
Okay.
So
How did
busy
it go?
times, busy times to say so.
Yeah, yeah. Did it
Exactly.
go well?
Yeah, it worked really well. I got actually invited to submit the talk to other conferences as well. So
Okay.
that's a good sign, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That
How about
must.
you? How was your
It was good.
time in the weekend?
The weather was not so great here in Munich. It was raining a lot, so we spent inside. We went to the museum yesterday, and cafe. So more or less like a relaxed Sunday.
It's actually a good idea. We should do museum collections at some point in an Aura live stream. Because
Yeah,
some of the museums actually have like public data sets or
that's true.
APIs,
That's
or
true.
so perhaps you can pick one that's interesting
I
and
think I
see.
think last year I think we did something with the Met, the New York
Mm-hmm.
Met Museum, because they have a pretty open data
Yeah.
integration where you can connect to an API and download some data from there,
Mm-hmm.
from their data sets, or from their exhibitions rather. So yeah, I think that's a good idea, and probably other museums do as well. But
Yeah, I guess so. I think the
need to do
British
some bit.
Museum and some others had
Yes.
also public APIs as well.
Yeah.
But I guess the next few weeks we'll probably rather talk about nodes and node sessions and see if we
Yes,
can
we
pull
have
in some
a
of that.
slightly different agenda,
Yeah.
and won't be as much as the banner says, register for nodes. So
Yeah.
it's let me put this up. Here is the little banner we have. So it's I posted the link in chat already. I'll can do it again. So if you have not registered yet, please do so on the website neo4j.com/nodes 2022.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun event. It's well, actually, my banner doesn't say the date. I should update this. 16th and 17th of November. So in 2 months' time, we have 1.5 months rather. We have a nice event online, so you can join from wherever you are located. It's going to be live, 24 hours style. So we start in the North American time zones, and we go to EMEA time zones, and we go to APEC time zones. So
Actually, it's first Asia Pacific and then EMEA. So it basically follows the sun as it goes over the Americas and then the Pacific Ocean and then basically Asia Pacific.
Other
and
way
then,
around. Exactly. Yeah.
So, but it's really cool that we have live sessions from all over the globe and speakers from all over the globe. And it's also our topic today, right, Alex? You want to look into the conference graph for nodes a little bit?
We look into this a little bit, and we'll continue doing this over the next couple of months. So, if you have any questions, anything on nodes, anything related to that, let us know. The chat is always open. We can do some Q&A obviously as well on the event on other topics. So it's very freestyle. So yeah, I think I don't go over what I usually go over, so I'll switch over to your monitor.
Cool. Let's do that. So as you heard from Alex, there is the nodes registration page. And actually, if you remember, over the summer in July and August, we had the CFP, so people submitted sessions, and we got in total 150 submissions from 132 speakers or so, which is really amazing. And so we already selected the talks for nodes. The agenda is not published yet because I have to move around the talks a little bit in terms of times, but I'll do that this week. So this week we'll announce the agenda. And But what we can already do is we can basically take this data from the CFP with the accepted sessions and pull it into Neo4j and look a little bit at the nodes conference graph. So that's what we want to do today. And to do that, of course, we need an Aura instance. So I just create a new Aura instance. I call it node sessions. AuraDB free, pick an empty database, and then just click on create database here. And download our credentials file, which is really handy because then I don't need to copy and paste the password somewhere, but just can node sessions. Can just look into the file when I need to find this. And then I click continue. And while this is loading, I always need to find the right tab here. And while this is loading, we talk a little bit about the data and data model, and then we'll go back to the instance to import the data actually, and then do some queries on top of it. And I thought we could also build a little dashboard in NeoDash as well. Cool. So in Sessionized, which is the platform which we use for getting the sessions, you basically submit your session and then they are reviewed, and then after the review there's a selection process. As always, it's a challenge because most of the sessions were really, really good that have been submitted. So for us, it's always a challenge to pick the right ones. It's basically a balance between the content, so you also don't want to have too much duplicate content. You also want to have something that's kind of for the audience. So besides the talks that we selected for the conference, there will be also follow up with other folks for joining the live stream or things like that. So don't worry too much about if your session was not accepted, but I think many of the sessions will be also shown in other places as well, not just on the conference. But in total, we have around 90 sessions at the conference, so that's more than half of the sessions have been selected. And there's two ways of how we can access this data. One is that we can basically export the data to a CSV, which is the first thing that we look at. And then, so which I did here basically is I just exported the sessions to a CSV. And the other way of doing it is basically creating an REST endpoint that returns JSON. So basically you can get the session list, speaker list. And after we publish the agenda, then you can also get a schedule grid basically. Right, so you just have an endpoint, and then you get the data in JSON here.
Okay, so but we want to opportunity. Okay, yeah, that's very good.
Which is really
so
cool.
They offer two pathways, sort of to
yeah. There's a bunch of more stuff that you can do with Sessionize. It also offers embeds, so that you basically can just get an URL that you can embed into your website, and then it renders like the schedule, the speaker list, the grid, and so on. So if you're not into coding, or if folks are not into coding, they can just copy and paste the snippet, and then it does an iframe and embeds it into their website, similar to how you would embed a YouTube video, but then it's just in the full schedule or the grid or the speaker list as such, which is pretty cool. Super. And so I thought we'll start with the CSV and then think a little bit about like what we want to do in terms of importing. So what I did here is basically I imported the CSV, which actually comes down as an Excel file because there are two tabs in here, as you can see, right? So there's one for the speakers with the name of the speaker, their tagline, bio, city, if they're a ninja, LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on, profile picture. And similarly for sessions, we have the session ID, session title, description, who's the owner, so who kind of submitted the session. We probably don't want to have the email here. The speakers of the session as names, that's the session format. Session level, any prerequisites, what Neo4j use cases and topics are in there, comma separated, date submitted, and then the speaker IDs, which is the thing how we connect basically the session to the speakers as such. Right? So pretty understandable and straightforward as such, and the status of the session as well. So these are only the accepted sessions here in this list. Okay, and that's what you can use. And Google Sheets has this really nice feature, which is called Publish to the Web. So you can basically, it's in Share here. you can say publish to the web, and then it basically says, I want to publish the sessions file as a CSV, and then you get a URL here. And then if you open this URL somewhere, then this gives you the CSV as such, which is quite nice. And the same for speakers as well. But I just realized for data importer, we actually need the
download
CSV file as download because it does not support yet. Doesn't support yet the remote URLs as such.
Yeah. You could, I mean, if we were to do it,
we can do it with load CSV, and we
with load CSV exactly. But
I just want to show quickly like the
the
modeling in data importer.
It's much better to do it in data importer if you are a new user. If you don't, if you want to use more like a drag and drop overlay and have more. I mean, more. I don't want to say more control over your data because you have more. The same amount of control, but it's easier to see how things are connected instead of when you do it with load CSV, which is a bit more, obviously texty.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, we will need to use some Cypher for post-processing and so on, because data importer currently can't deal with these comma-separated fields that have like the speaker IDs as comma-separated values, or the topics or the Neo4j use cases as comma-separated topics. So that's something that we need to do manually anyway. And but I'll show how data importer would look like when the data would be really normalized, basically. And some of it would work because some of the talks have only one speaker, so we can actually use data importer to pull this out. But then we need to do some post-processing for that as well. Okay, so that means that's kind of the basics, right? So, and if you go back to our Aura instance, it should be running now, which it does. We open Workspace, and I get the password from my downloaded credentials. Here it is. And because the database is empty, Workspace points us to data importer directly, which is quite nice, right? So, and then we have our two CSV files that we just downloaded from the Google Sheet, and can use them, right? So, and from here it's graph modeling. So we have our whiteboard in the middle that we can draw nodes on, and then we can map the CSV files to these nodes as such, right? So usually if you want to import sessions, you would start with a session, of course, right? And
this is now the standard pathway for all users, or do they still need to register for it?
Not yet. That's a really good point, Alex. So if you go to Neo4j.com, I think /workspace, it gets you to this registration page, but then you pass through basically. If you sign up, it will be like only a few minutes also until you get Workspace access, and then you can use it. And we would love to get some feedback from you folks. So I think Workspace will be released around Neo4j 5 /nodes. So that will be the time when we'll have official Workspace support in Aura as well. There's still some things that are not yet in Workspace, so that's why for everyone it's not yet the optimal experience, but you will be able to switch back and forth basically of using Workspace or using the traditional UI as well. Good point. Thank you for pointing that out. So we have our session here, our session node, and we would basically map a file, our sessions file, to this node, and would say select the following things from the file. We'll the session ID, title. Probably don't want to have the owner. We can take the format, level, prerequisites, the topics, Neo4j use cases, AV setup, time zone, status, data submitted, speaker IDs, right? So that's the things that we want, and then it automatically selects session ID as our ID. So that's pretty nice. of data importer that it does it. It also turns things into strings, into data types.
Yeah.
But I just see that it made a mistake here because the session ID is actually, as you can see here, it's an UUID, right? So there's an F in here and a C, so it should not actually turn this into an int. So that's another product feedback thing. The rest is probably all strings. Yes. Okay, cool. So that's our basic.
There's a couple of data types already in because if now you scrolled over date and time. That's not available yet.
No,
but maybe
date and time is not yet available.
But
that is coming as well.
So
but floats, booleans, and ints are already detected,
which is pretty good. But
exactly.
is the majority of data type anyway.
Yeah, and then our second node is our speaker. And we'll take our speakers and map the speakers file to it, and we select the what do we need? Let's select all, and then we can actually remove stuff that we don't want. So time zone city, Ninja, LinkedIn, blog, Twitter, company, website, public profile, picture profile. It looks actually okay. So we do this, and here it also left the ID as a string. So these are all strings basically for the speaker. And then it already automatically selects speaker ID as well, so which is nice. And then we can say, for instance, the speaker presents. And we want to turn around this arrow to point from speaker to session. And we pick our sessions file, and it should, hopefully does it, from speaker IDs to session ID. So that's our mapping basically between the two. Right? So because the schedule is not yet announced, there's no like room or times for the talk yet. So if the sessions are announced, then there will also be information on which track or room they're in and which times. So the only drawback that we have now is that, as I said, the speaker IDs are comma separated fields. So if you have more than one speaker, then it won't work. And also also the topics and use cases and so on are not yet extracted. So we do this with some post-processing in Neo4j then. Right?
How is it handling this in data importer? Is it ignoring those lines, or?
So it would import the speakers themselves because they're in the file. But then when it tries to create a relationship, it tries to find the speaker with these kind of two comma separated IDs, and they're not there yet, and so it doesn't create a relationship. So we do this after the fact. We should also see this in a preview. So it basically runs the preview here, and then we see that it basically has certain. The purple ones are speakers, and the green ones are sessions. 97 sessions, 75 speakers, and there are certain speakers which have multiple sessions. I think that's Anton here.
Very busy.
Most likely. Anton, yeah, exactly. And Anton I invited him to do mindful meditation sessions, actually, lightning talk sessions, because I really liked that at conferences there were like these yoga sessions and things like that. So that are like a little bit uncommon and
break of the technical.
Exactly. And so I thought that would be, because I really enjoy Anton's meditation sessions for the last 2 years or so. And I thought it's a really good opportunity to let others know as well. So, and you see, most speakers, of course, have just one session because if you have so many submissions, you can't really have someone present much more than one session. So there are a few in here where the speaker has not yet assigned, like internal Neo4j sessions, technical sessions where they have been submitted by someone, but the speaker has not yet been assigned. So that's something to sort out. But in general, you see that the preview looks actually pretty good already, right? So if I click on one of the sessions, you see all the attributes of the session that have been mapped. And if I click on one of the speakers, then you see that their attributes also are correctly mapped here.
Yeah.
Right. So then we can click run import, and it will basically import this data, and it takes like 1 second. No errors. So, and what's interesting, because you asked about how it imports the data, if you look at the query here, it creates a constraint for the speaker ID. Or we should have probably renamed this, but it's not a big deal. And then it basically merges this node on the speaker ID. And so it imports all the speakers. And for the relationships, actually, it tries to find the speaker with this ID and the session with this ID, and then creates the relationship. And if the speaker or session doesn't exist with this ID, then the relationship is not created.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So, and if I now click Start Querying, it should open the Query tab, which gives us an overview here of the data that's in there, and you see it looks the same as the preview. That's very promising. We have Anton here again with his 4 sessions. So he's actually got 1 technical session on indexes in Neo4j 5, but then the 3 meditation sessions, 1 per time zone block.
I see. Okay, yeah, that's cool.
Right. So, and now we need to do some post-processing, right? So because we have a number of sessions that probably don't have a speaker. Let me see.
Yeah, we can look at that. Yeah.
Where not exists session since return. So these are all the sessions that have no speakers. So it's 15 sessions that have more than 1 speaker, basically. And so they don't have a relationship yet. So what we can actually do is here, let's return s.session ID and s.speaker IDs, so that we see basically, click, speaker IDs. So we see that basically this is our session ID.
Yeah.
And these are our speaker IDs basically up here.
Oh, yeah, and here we see that they're all duplicate. Oh, not duplicate, but they're all more than 1.
Yeah. Genau, they're more than 1 and comma separated, right?
Yeah.
So actually, it's quite nice because now we can look at a little bit of what do we do with this data, right? So one thing that we would do with the speaker IDs, we would split them by comma and space, because there's a comma and space between them here, right? You see that? As speakers, this should now give us the session ID and a list of speaker IDs here, right? Okay. And so we actually don't really need this session ID, because if we have the session, that's good enough, right? So because we already have the session. So we have our session and our speaker IDs. And what we want to do is find our speakers with these IDs, right? So what we need to do, because this is a list here of IDs, we turn this list into a row. So that's basically what unwind is for. We take this list and say unwind speakers speaker ID, right? So we have, instead of having this list, we should now have 1 element each. So the sessions are repeated, and it turns these lists into 1 element each.
Single points in individual.
Right. So if I run this again, we see we kept the same session twice here and 2 different speaker IDs. And then we can use this to actually find our data. So what we will do is we find our speaker. Speaker. And the speaker has a speaker ID that matches our speaker ID here from our list.
Okay. So we
speaker.
Yeah.
It should give us like these pairs of. Not sure why my screen is mispaving. Should give us these pairs of always a session and then the speaker as such. It's probably more obvious in the table. Here's our session, and here's our speaker, and then there's the same session again, and here's the next speaker as such, right? So we get these pairs of speakers and sessions.
It's funny that if you look at a graph that is not connected, it is very unintuitive to look at it, where it is very
Yeah.
intuitive when it is connected. So in this case, it's like a bunch of blobs that don't.
Yeah, it does make sense. And actually, now we turn it into something that makes sense. So what we do is we merge the speaker into an presence relationship, presence session. And so we create this relationship from speaker to session with the name presents. And then we can actually return everything. And then we should basically see our connected data. Okay, ready? Let's do this. So now we have
perfect
interesting sessions, right? So these sessions have all multiple speakers now, as you can see here, right?
Yeah.
So some of the sessions even have 3 speakers, and there's also like some sessions that have over here as well. So Emil and Andreas do closing Q&A in all time zones. So they're basically 3 times there. So that's basically now much more interesting, the graph that we got from this, right? So that's kind of the beauty
Definitely.
of drawing out these relationships. And this was kind of one of the post-processing things that we've done. The next one would be to do something similar with the topics and Neo4j use cases. So if I look at my session here, I hope you can see this. It has levels, multiple levels that we could connect them to, right? Also comma separated.
Yeah.
It has use cases. So this one has only 1 use case. This one has 2 use cases here, right? Professional services and human resources. And then the other thing is, let me see, where is it? Why does it not scroll in here for the, that's weird. For whatever reason, it doesn't show me the other entries here. Here's one. Here you see that the level, 2 levels, and then there's also multiple topics here, right? So we have topics. Neo4j use cases can be multiple, and there's one with Neo4j use cases. There's one. There's also one. Anyway, there are some which have here's general and financial, right? So we have level, use cases, and topics, right? So which we want to split out into nodes as well. So that's our other bit of post-processing, and which we can basically do exactly the same way as we've done with the speaker IDs. But instead of speaker IDs, we use, for instance, levels, I think what it was, right? S dot as IDs. I just call it IDs because then it's generic, and we can just use it like this.
There we can repeat,
right? Then we can repeat it, and then we just say we create a node level here, which has an ID. Oh, it's actually a name. And so because these are more human readable names, so we can probably call this also names instead of IDs. That's probably so. Names as name. Right. So this is kind of our names for the levels. Then we create the level, and then basically
we need to change the name, the ID after the name.
Oh yes, thank you. So this is actually not matching them, but merging them. So that means if the level doesn't exist yet, it would create it, right? And if it already exists, it just uses it. And then we just say session as off level n, right? So it would kind of, for each of the sessions, it would connect them to one or more levels as such, right? So that's our second bit of post-processing. And for whatever reason,
is SP correct? I think you in the second to last row merge.
Oh yeah, that's actually session. So this looks better, right? So we have like 3 levels: advanced, intermediate, and let me zoom in a little bit. Introduction, intermediate, advanced, and expert. There's only 1 expert session in here, but the advanced sessions are already pretty expert. So we probably next time we don't need to put in like expert and advanced as 2 options there. But So that's how this works for these. And then we do the same for the other ones, Neo4j use case. Let me just call this use case, and then we say use case here. But all the rest should be the same, right? So we split use cases, we merge the use case and then connect them as such. So if we run this, we see a number of different use cases. So most of them are general, but there's also shipping on logistics, aerospace, financial, human resources, biotech, professional services, or professional development, I think, education tech, healthcare, telecom, and so on, pharma, manufacturing, and agriculture. And this is, these are the general sessions. Okay, super. And then the last one or the next one was topic, right? Presentation. Let me look at this again. Topic level, topic. Can you see the topic thing? There's no topic.
No.
Let's pick another one for topic.
Must have.
Speaker IDs. Because T is at the end, right?
Here
here it's comma separated, right? So machine learning, graph data sciences would be these, right?
Yeah.
So we basically do the same here. Topic or has topic, right? So.
Yeah.
And then these are our topics, and we can zoom in again. And now we see analytics, best practices, for knowledge, graph security, database, performance, API drivers, GraphQL,
okay.
visualization, and so on. And so these are kind of all our topics now. So that means now with our post-processing, and I think we could do the same for, what did we have? Neo4j use case, topic, level, and that was it, I think, right? These were the ones that we wanted to pull out. Yeah, I think so. Right. But if you now look at our graph in general, it looks much more interesting, right? So because now we have, instead of 2 nodes, we have 5 of them, and 4 relationships. And we can now basically also look at all the relationships. So for instance, if I pick nodes with any.
You want to do that in Bloom?
Great point. So we can go into Explore and update our perspective. And I hope that it. Oh, we probably need to regenerate this one.
Yeah.
So create new perspective, generate perspective pretty quick. Can use this one. And you see now it has like all the details of our nodes here. We could also add icons if we wanted to. For instance, we could add an icon for the person or for the session. What do we want to do for this session?
That's the level.
Oh, sorry, that's this. Here's the session.
Some speaking thing or something, like, I don't know.
Megaphone.
Or that, yeah.
Phone. And so on, right? So so we can basically start querying this data, right? So we could say, actually, there's something new in Bloom or in Explorer that's called Show Me a Graph, which is quite nice. So you can just click on it, and it shows you like a example or subset of your graph. So you see there are a bunch of sessions. Actually, we should probably set the session title as not the session ID, but the title.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is.
And for the speaker, we can set, I think, the first name and last name as the instead of the speaker ID.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And so you see now we have here.
I mean, because it's random now, it didn't pick speakers. It just picked
it's interesting, right?
So and use cases and topics, but
yeah.
You know.
So it actually it's done via a safe cipher query, so it just gets us 100
random nodes.
basically.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but in general, it shows us an like overview of the graph, and now we can also use Bloom to query it and say, for instance, which session have shared topics, right? So we can say we have a session, then let's see here. we have a session, we have a topic, and we have another session, right? So which are basically what, if I'm interested in one session and want to see what other sessions are connected to the session via a topic, then we can say basically, okay, let's say we look at graph data science
exactly
as such, and then we say, okay, what are all the sessions that are connected to graph data science, for instance, right? I can also say dismiss other nodes, so that also only lists us the graph data science, and then we just expand the has topic again, and then we have all the graph data science sessions here in one place, right? And so that's a quick way of exploring these kind of things as such. Cool. Super. And then, of course, you can do all the things that you can do in Bloom. You can do local filters. You can do shortest paths and things like that, right? So there's a lot of expanding interactively and so on. You can see the details. You can edit your data as well and much more. So we have two options now, Alex. So I leave it to you what you want to do. So either we look at the REST APIs and the JSON endpoints next, or we look at the dashboard with NeoDash next.
Yeah, I mean, we could. People watching live, which is your preference?
Yeah,
would you like to see NeoDash and a little dashboarding exercise of the data, or would you like to see a REST endpoint connection into Neo4j Aura?
Yep.
Who types first will get what
exactly.
First
come, first serve. Right?
Exactly. So let's give it a few seconds so you can type.
Yeah,
if
and
you
while we're waiting, I'll try to repair my screen setup. For whatever reason, it disconnected the.
What did you lose?
No, my mirror got lost. So now
Alonso wants to see NeoDash, so I guess that's
okay. That's it then. Yeah. Okay, there's a really cool URL that we can also share, basically, which is tools.neo4j.com, which is basically a collection of different tools from Neo4j Labs and some partners as well. And what's nice about this is I can just basically take my Aura URL, put it in here, and username, database, and then open, for instance, NeoDash on this URL. And I still have to provide a password for security reasons and connect. And let me just clean this out. Oh, can I reset this actually? Or we can just create a new dashboard. I guess that's easiest. Right. So this is our Discover Nodes section. Session. So NeoDash is a tool which allows you to write Zephyr queries and generate dashboards from it. Right? So that means if we want to do something, is we would give it a name. So for instance, it's really simple session count, right? So we want to see how many sessions are there in our database. So we basically say match session return count star. It's one of the easiest, right? We don't even need the S. So that's minimal query as such. Right? And then there's one that's called number. Where's number? Single value, right?
Okay.
So, and if you save this, then we see 97 sessions, right? So we can also make this smaller. And we could do the same for speakers, of course. But let's do something more interesting. The next one could be session titles and speakers or something like that, right? So where in our, we want to get a table and we find our session and our speaker for this session. Oh no, presents, sorry. That's our speaker. And then we return the, I just need to check. It's on session. Because we didn't change the names, we need to, it's just title. And for speaker, the name is first name and last name, I think, right?
First name, last name. Yeah.
Yeah, with uppercase N. Okay. So session.title and speaker.first name plus. So we can actually do create even one string out of it. Speaker.last name as speaker. Session. Plus a table. And if you save this, we should see like
okay. So we got
114 entries basically.
Mm-hmm.
And there are multiple sometimes. So what we could do if we wanted to, we would actually say we can collect this into a list. Speakers, and then hopefully it should render a list of people. Here it automatically does comma separated list for that, right? So that's quite nice.
Yeah.
Super. Another thing that's interesting is kind of what's the distribution of something, right? So for instance, topics, right? So we had all these different topics, and we wanted to see how many sessions of a certain topic are there. I think it's called off topic. We call this.
I think so. Yeah.
Session, and we just return topic.name as name, and then count as. And it's not a table, but we do it as for instance, as a bar chart. Right? We could do different things. So this create didn't return any data. Session of topic. Let me just quickly look. Has topic, not
has
topic.
Okay.
Okay. Has topic. And now we see that's the distribution of our topics by session.
Fairly even. Knowledge graph is the leader, but the rest is sort of.
And there are also multiple entries, right? So that's why it's also more than the total.
Yeah.
In this, you can also, if you had multiple counts, you could also select which ones you want to see and things like that. So there's also some after query configuration that you can do. If you were to sort this order by C descending, it also shows this in sorted order. Then this is kind of sorted by count, and the other one was sorted by nothing. We could also sort by name, for instance, as well. For something like the levels, we could do a pie chart. So we would say a session, I think. And then we just return the level name and count. And hopefully I didn't misspell it this time. No. See, I should just off level.
Off level. Okay.
This time it was off. Okay. So now we see our pie chart here. So we have like 36% introductory, 57 intermediate, 21 advanced, 6 expert, and 2
no level, but that's the keynote, I guess.
Yeah, it could be the keynote. Right? So that gives us this kind of data. We can also do other kinds of charts or even maps. I think currently we don't have geo coordinates in here, right? But we have the city of and the country of the speaker. So we have a little bit more time. Let's see if we can actually generate a little bit of geo information. Where access speaker.city return count star. Let's see how many speakers have a city set. 141 speakers. Hey, cool. Or actually, let's see if the city is actually not empty, because it could be mere, let's say, length or size. Size of speaker.city is greater than 1. Return count star. That's only 11. Okay, but it's better than nothing, so we just use this as such. We can do a call epoch spatial geocode once, and then let's just do this as an example. So with speaker limit 1, we just do it for one speaker, and then we say speaker.city plus speaker.country. So that basically creates a string out of like Berlin, Germany or something like that, right? And then sends it to a geocoding service, and we should get, I think it yields, actually geocode once. It yields location, data, latitude, longitude, and description. Okay, so location, data, turn, everything. We get Estelle, who's in what does it say? Display name?
Down here, Le Puys. What's it say?
Yeah, in France. So it's a French city. And here it's probably just cut off.
Yeah.
As such, right? Cool, but this gives us basically this kind of information, and we can create a latitude, longitude entry for our node, right? So that means we can basically set the speaker.location equals point of, let's say, location, and we want to have the latitude. Or we could also, to make it probably more easy to understand, not so fancy features, we just use latitude entry, latitude and longitude, right? The two that we returned here.
Yeah.
And that gives us our geolocation, right? So this worked for Estelle, and then we do it for all the speakers that have a city, which is 11, right? It's throttling a little bit so that we don't overload the geocoding service as such. But in a few seconds, we should get, I think it takes like 1 second per request.
Yeah, okay.
As throttling, if you have not configured anything. But let's see if this works. And then we should see our geodata. While this is going, we can actually write the query already in NeoDash, map of speakers, right? And we would say, find us all the speakers that have a location entry. Speaker where sp.location is not now. Return sp. So it should actually automatically turn this into a map.
Yeah, if we will put the map.
Map. Oops, not line short. Map. So initially it should have, here are 11 speakers already, right? Yeah. So this kind of are the speakers, and we can basically see the speaker here, the speaker details. We can also configure a label. So like, for instance, we can say the first name of the speaker is our label. And then we can zoom in, and we see that basically people have provided their, see, Estelle is in the south of France, and Veronique is in Paris, and Stuart is in London, Michal is in Slovakia, Anton is in Sweden, and I guess Koji is in Japan.
Japan, yeah.
Right. And so if you had more, we could also do an heat map. So in advanced settings, there's also, you can configure like clustering and heat map things and things like that. So there's a lot of
that's lots of
detail. So if you want to configure details, there's a lot of stuff that you can do. But this should just show like principal capabilities, such. And there's a bunch of other types of renderings like sunbursts or circle packing or chloropleth maps, which are these maps which are kind of really fancy looking polygons basically over the map and so on. You can also put markdown. So if I want to have a text, for instance, this is a dashboard of the accepted node sessions or something like that, right? Then I can save this as an
just a text block.
and this is kind of description. And then I can probably make this a little bit smaller here and put it in the top left corner here besides the, and then I have a little description here as well, right? And you can also put in iframe. So if you want to embed a video or something like that as an iframe, then that's also possible. Or if you were to kind of pull the session information from sessionize, you could also embed the iframe from that as well. Right?
Yeah, basically
so
the
that's
agenda.
Just a really quick overview of how you can take this map that we got from scratch, sorry, this graph that we got from scratch, and turn it into a dashboard as well, interactive, and it refreshes also these as your data changes. These are also refreshed as well. Cool. And we have a few more minutes. Do we want to look at the API bits? I think that's at least.
I mean, we could do this next time around.
That's also a good idea. Yeah. So then we don't have to rush it, and we can do it next time around. And then we have also scheduled published schedule as well, so we can look at a little bit at like tracks and tracks and times and things like that.
Exactly.
So very good, yeah.
UKH2 asks, what was the name? NeoDash is the name. So NeoDash.
But if you go to tools.neo4jlabs.com, you should also find it there. So I pasted it, I think, into the chat as well. Right? Did I? Yeah.
Yeah, you put it in there. Or if you just Google for NeoDash, you will find a couple of posts from
Niels.
From Niels. So here, for example, is the 2.0 release Medium post. I think currently we are at a little bit further 2.1, I think, or he's about to release 2.1.
Yeah, and actually NeoDash is now also a labs project, so you can actually go here, and then there's a labs page with details and videos and articles and things like that. So perhaps you can paste this into the chat as well. Come on.
Yeah. And it's a cool tool. I did a Neo4j live stream with Niels a couple of months ago. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you can and look for NeoDash there. You'll find a video where we go over in much more detail all the capabilities and what's possible with NeoDash. It's very, very easy to use. It's very powerful, as you saw. I mean, in a couple of minutes, we click together a dashboard with a couple of charts. You can also do graphs. Obviously, it's not.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't show the graphs
and maps.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you can also show the graph, but you can visualize graphs in here as well. But it's like a
simpler version of the graph.
Simpler version, exactly. But for dashboards, most of the time you want to see some tables or some diagrams. So, and here it is some graphy visualization as well, which can make sense in a dashboard as well. It's very good, and it's like we said, it's easy to use, and you can connect it with your AuraDB instance or desktop. So give it a spin.
Exactly. Cool. So time flew again, as always.
Exactly. Yeah, we are already at the end. Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you all for watching. This was good. We will continue over the next couple of weeks up to nodes. We will see that we continue these and go into detail about some sessions and talk about a few more points on nodes. Again, please register if you haven't done so. It's in November, and it's really going to be fun.
And there's some good stuff coming as well, right? So there will be also workshops and things like that. We can probably talk about them next time a little bit or so, depending on the scheduling.
Okay, cool.
Leading up to nodes.
On the Twitch chat, I think that is a default setting from Twitch. I don't think you can chat if you are not logged in, but I'll double check if that is indeed a settings configuration. So but I think you have to have an account in order to be able to interact with the chat. I think that is similar on YouTube, as far as I know.
Yeah, because you need to map it to a user somehow, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, super.
All
Thank
right.
you so much,
Well
Alex,
then,
and everyone.
exactly. Thank you for watching. Take care, and yeah,
See you in a week.
see you next week. Oh, by the way, see you on Thursday if you want to. I have a live stream on Thursday with Mehul on algorithms and pathfinding. So that's taking place this Thursday, 5 p.m. Central European Time. So yeah, have a look at that and join me then. Otherwise, obviously, we'll see each other on well, actually Monday is a public holiday in Germany, Michael. I don't know if you're gonna skip.
Yeah, then and then we are out actually.
maybe
So we'll probably
maybe
not.
then we promised too much. It's not gonna happen next Monday.
Yeah,
but
so we should
we'll,
actually also remove the event here
remove
from
that. Yeah,
this.
that's true.
But the pathfinding, I just wanted to show on the events page, if you go to the Neo4j events/events page, you can also filter for live streams, and Alex is doing a great job of keeping them up to date. So the pathfinding algorithms is also in here.
Yeah,
as well.
That's on Thursday. So that should be interesting, and yeah, we'll see you next time.
Sounds great. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.